Hello and welcome back to the Real Music Talks. Today we have Leonie from the band Bitching Hour from Surrey. How you doing?
Hi, I'm all right. Thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad at all. So how did the band first form?
We formed during lockdown number one, actually, kind of near the end, where we were allowed to meet in groups of up to six people in the gardens and stuff. And yeah, basically, just for a long time, I've wanted a full female rock band. And I was in the car one day with a friend, and he was like, "Why haven't you done that yet?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I just can't seem to find female drummers." And then I clicked in my head that I just met a female drummer like a week ago. And so, like, pulled over in the car, called her, and was like, "I know we haven't met before, but do you want to be in a band with me, please?" And just kind of went from there, really.
Was it important to you guys to like all be female?
Yeah, I I think there's not enough of us out there, and so I just really like the idea of a whole band being female. Like things like female fronted bands are getting a bit of traction, and I just like the idea of standing out a bit more because all of us are women.
And where do you kind of draw influence from? So what sort of music do you guys listen to?
We're all quite different, actually.
Hmm.
So I grew up like musical theatre based, and then one day someone showed me the band Hailstorm, and I was like, "Oh, I can do that. I want to do that." And then I believe like drummer has a lot of Skunk and Nancy influences. Guitarists are both metalheads, and our bassist is an electronics producer, and she's amazing. They're all amazing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, it's quite nice that we all have kind of like different things. Like we've got a punk drummer, soul singer, metal guitars, electronic bass. It's kind of just like a cool little mix.
It must have been quite difficult to kind of form a band with the lockdown restrictions and that. Like, how have you found that and how have you got on with creating music?
Yeah, I mean, our first ever meeting was a Zoom call.
Yeah.
The first time we all like sat down and spoke together, and I think we were. I think we just formed right at the point where you were allowed to meet up in gardens, and our one of our guitarists has a massive garden, so she was like, "Come to mine. We'll set it up in the garden. We'll give the neighbours a show every week while we practice and work out what the hell we're doing."
Did the neighbours enjoy that?
Most of the time, yeah. Eventually we did get told off, but thankfully it was a week before we were then allowed to finally go to rehearsal studios, so we got away with it just about.
And have you guys released much music to date, like so far?
We have two singles out at the moment. One came out in September of last year, and the latest one was November, I think. And yeah, they're doing, considering we're a brand new band, they've been doing surprisingly well. We just hit 10K on Spotify, which I'm pretty proud of considering we've been around for like 6 months. So
What do you think's the key to that success? Because I kind of like noticed you are pretty active on social media and you've got a website and everything already. You know, a lot of bands don't put that first. Do you think that's kind of been because you haven't been able to play as much, or like what's been the approach with that?
yeah, I mean, it's definitely because we can't go out and do the normal thing of just gigging and getting people to see us that way. But we're also incredibly lucky. Two of us are social media managers. One of us is a band manager.
Right.
One of us used to own created a record label. One of us is a graphics designer. We kind of have everything we needed to like create a brand right off the bat. And yeah, we just kind of went full force on branding as hard as we could, trying to get people excited before we even had music out. I think we hit 1K on Facebook before we'd released any music.
Wow. And I guess like when you guys can get back to gigging, hopefully soon, then you got people ready to go, right? Ready to come and see you. So it
Yeah, hopefully.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. We're hoping maybe we can pull off a pretty epic show for our first time, so that'll be pretty amazing.
So talk to me about like your own background. Like how did you first like get into music?
Apparently, according to my family, I've been singing before I could talk. apparently.
Wow.
My dad says he used to like put me in the car, go for a drive, put the radio on, and I'd be able to sing the melody of the song. I just didn't know the words yet. So I definitely don't have any memory of there ever being a time where I wasn't singing. It's definitely like my therapy. The thing that makes me the happiest.
I noticed do you run a mental health blog? Is that
I
right?
do, yeah.
Like, could you talk to me about that a little bit?
So I've been running it for maybe about 4 or 5 years now, on and off. I just kind of one day, I've been blogging for a while in terms of like my lifestyle, but I hadn't really opened up about anything. And I had a particularly bad mental health episode, and I kind of just went, you know what, I think I need to share this. I think everyone needs to know what's going on. And I'd been hiding a lot about myself for a very long time. And I thought it was time to share it, and in the hopes that it meant that other people would feel a bit braver to do the same thing, really.
Do you think, I guess you must have had like quite a lot of different experiences with mental health, like throughout your childhood and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I loads of different things. I mean, only last year did I discover that I was autistic. And so it's kind of weird now, like looking back on my childhood and seeing, oh, that makes sense. That's why I was doing that. That's why I was doing this. Okay. I wasn't just like a dramatic child. And yeah, I think growing up that way, and just different situations that have unfortunately happened throughout my childhood, meant that mental health has been a big part of me pretty much since I was I'd say about 4 years old. And I grew up very much far too terrified to talk about it and admit it. And so when I finally switched and went, no, I think we need to talk about it, it just kind of freed everything up a bit. I'm obviously by no means cured or anything, but it's definitely something I'm incredibly passionate about, making sure that it isn't stigmatized as it currently is.
Absolutely. Like, it makes sense that you'd want to help other people from that perspective. And like you mentioned, music's kind of like your therapy. Like, could you talk about that a little bit? I know a lot of musicians say like music's like therapy for them.
100%. Like, there's no better feeling. Nothing feels as good as performing feels. No great night out drinking with your friends, no perfect relationship, nothing feels as awesome as a show. It just, everything melts away, nothing else matters for the length of time you're on there, and it's just bliss, to be perfectly honest. If I could do it 24 hours a day, I absolutely would.
I had the guest I had on last week was saying it's like magic.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it is literally like very hard to like explain to someone that doesn't play music.
Yeah.
But there isn't anything else that's like similar. Like, it's really difficult to describe.
No, I completely agree. It's just like I don't have words for it. It's just so good.
Absolutely. So like, talk to me about the plans for the band then. Like, now, obviously, like, all say everything goes well, restrictions are lifted by like July or something.
God, I
You know,
hope
like
so.
what same, but what would you say, like, what's the plan then?
So we have our first rehearsal booked in for the very first day restrictions are lifted. So we're probably going to spend the most of that day crying and hugging each other. We might get about half an hour of rehearsals in that day. But we're hoping to, if everything goes well, we should be recording our album, which I'm so excited about. And we're hopefully going to record the whole process on the way. So we're going to try and release like a mini docu-series of us making the whole album and try to get past all these weird ass barriers COVID has given to us.
That's interesting. Why do you choose to like document it?
I tell you what, the reason was really is I was watching a docuseries on a group of dancers called the Cherry Bombs. They're amazing dancers that dance to metal on stage, and they released a docuseries called Girl Gang, and I just really loved the idea of being able to see behind the show and behind the perfect branding. As I said, like mental health and stuff is all very important to all of us, and we have a massive rule. The one rule we have is we rise together. Anyone that gets in touch with us and works with us, you've got no choice. You're being dragged up with us now. And we wanted something where we could showcase everything and everyone that makes Bitchin Hour a thing, because it's not just us, and it's not just the 30 minutes or whatever it is that we're on stage. It's our life, it's our family.
How do you think like social media has impacted the music industry?
Oh God, loads. In good ways and in bad ways. There's definitely there's so many ways in which that, like, how on earth, when I look at our Spotify and I see there's people in France or America listening to our songs, and I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. But I also think it's so incredibly hard. Myself and the drummer are social media managers, and it is by far so much harder than it used to be. The hurdles you have to jump over are just getting silly at this point. A lot of things get sensitized, and no one really seems to like really angry, aggressive women on the internet. So we tend to hit a lot of roadblocks sometimes with that. But I think in a whole, especially now we're in this pandemic where we can't go see people in real life and we can't talk to anyone face to face, it's definitely been our backbone in terms of growing right now. And everyone that already knows who we are, my God, thank you. I don't we are not worthy, but thank you.
Yeah, I guess like you can reach people like so much easier than you used to, but then I'd say like in the last 5 years, it's got so, I would say like very full in terms of the traffic. Like everyone's
Yeah, it's
using social media
oversaturated.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, you know, like you might be able to get organic reach like 5, 10 years ago on Facebook, right? And now you got no chance. Like the only way
Yeah,
you're going to get any reach is through paying for it, basically, through
yeah.
ads and stuff like that. So it's
Which
definitely
I
changed.
refuse to do. I refuse. I'm like, I can do it. I will prove I can do it. It drives me nuts and it takes up all my day, but I will do it.
I think it's a time thing, isn't it? Like it just takes so much longer to build up over time, but
Yeah,
I feel like the kind of reward and end goal is better if you
yeah,
can do most of the growth organically. Because at the end of the day, as a band, right, like you're looking to build a following, like actual fans of the band that really love the
yeah,
music and
exactly.
everything. So it's like just about connecting with those sort of fans. So it's going to be weird for you guys when you play your first gig and there's all these people you haven't met yet, right? And
Yeah.
like, how are you going to manage that?
We'll probably cry a lot. We have been incredibly lucky. Like we have there's a dance group in Wales that also dance, like the Cherry Bums dance to like metal music, and they've been incredibly supportive of us from day one. They just so happened to find our social media and just straight away were like, yes, we're with you, and have been incredible. And I cannot wait to be able to see them in person, because I feel like they're our little Welsh family now. And yeah, it's just going to be so odd. We've gotten so far already without doing a gig, and that feels so imposter syndrome-y a little bit.
Yeah.
I've been performing my whole life, but with this band, obviously, we haven't done that yet, and it just feels so odd that people care before we feel like we've given them proof to care, I suppose. And it'll probably be a full night of complete and utter hyperactive panic and joy, and I'll probably cry of happiness every time I spot someone that I know has been following us on social media and has actually turned up to a gig.
As a band, like, how do you kind of approach writing music? Like, do you like generally write lyrics as like a first starting point?
I mean, to be fair, we're not very good at sticking to our own instruments. I definitely am not the only lyricist by any mile whatsoever. Our first single started because my drummer just randomly texted me 4 lines and was like, I don't know what to do with this, but do something with it. And I was like, oh, actually, that fits with another idea I've got. And then it just kind of ran from there. Most of the time, it either comes from a set of lyrics that come out first from one of us because we're angry about something, or we'll be in rehearsal and one of us will have a strop because we're getting something we're practicing wrong, and then out of that strop we write a new song.
Wow, that's great. It's great that you can leverage those points though and use it as inspiration straight away. Like the fact you've got that habit of doing that. Like, I think that's really good because a lot of people just don't use those moments for something positive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the first time it happened, we were like, that was some weird ass magic. What the hell did we just do there? Literally started with like, my drummer was like, I can't work this out. So she started doing something else. And the bassist was like, that was cool. Keep doing that. And then just kept building and building. And then I was like, you know what? I think I've got some lyrics that might fit to this. Let's try it. And 10 minutes later, we were like, did we just write a song out of a strop?
And then obviously, like, when you guys can rehearse and everything more often, then it's like you can jam and take that side, like, because that's just as fun as well, to be honest.
Yeah, hell yeah. Although we probably need to calm the hell down. Because at the moment we think we've got about enough songs for, I think we might be on album number 3 in our heads at the moment, which is a bit stupid because the first one's not even finished recording. We're not very good at slowing down or sticking to just one thing at a time.
I guess like the advantage of that is you can just like throw songs out if you need to, or put them in the back burner and come back to them, and then you've just constantly got a catalogue of material to use, which is the better position to be in, realistically.
Yeah, 100%. I'd rather have too much than not enough, and hopefully it just means we're just going forever.
So I noticed like your brand has got like quite a big influence from like witchcraft.
Yeah.
Like, could you explain that influence and how that came about?
Weirdly, so in terms of members of the band, I am the witch, shall we say. And deliberately, when we first started the band, I didn't want to influence the girls on it just being what I wanted, because I was very aware that I'd started it, but I didn't want it to just be about what I wanted. And so I deliberately didn't say anything about witchcraft. And they all brought it up, and then I was just sitting there like, yes. I think it was one of the guitarists, because originally I think we wanted to call it Bitchcraft, not Bitchin Hour, but it was already taken. And so then someone else suggested Bitchin Hour, and we were like, that's it. And our graphics designer, which is our other guitarist, sat and drew this crystal ball, and I was just like, oh my god, it's so perfect, and I didn't have to force them to do it. Yay. And yeah, like we all kind of Lara, our bassist, is massive on astrology, and we kind of see it as a kind of a female empowerment kind of thing, kind of mixing the power of witchcraft and the power of taking back the word bitch for ourselves, and just kind of ran with it, really. And out of pure luck, they all picked my favourite colours and my favourite things, and I didn't have to convince them to do it.
I guess it gives an even like stronger like back into the brand and everything.
Yeah. No, carry on, sorry.
No, it's fine. Do you think it will shut some people off? Like if they think that's a bit odd or weird? Like, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I kind of like it when people think I'm weird. I mean, I'm cute but weird. I'm kind right with that. I think we're very much determined to not look like everyone else, and so we try and find any way of, and you can't please everyone anyway, so why bother? And in terms of a branding point of view, I've always seen every like business I've worked for or set up, you're better off picking that one thing that people can all like gang up behind than trying to please everyone, because you just can't. It's impossible. And we did have a like, maybe we're a little bit too girly and no boys are gonna like us, but that has not been the case at all, so I guess it's working.
I think like it comes across as very authentic, and I think people will be drawn to like the confidence you guys have and
Yeah.
that like authenticity, because I think it's very difficult in an industry that is so like bound by brand and the image of the band and everything like that, like to not fall into that rabbit hole of trying to look like the next like pop artist, for example.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we're always very aware of that. We're determined that no one calls us Paramore. Although we make the same joke at ourselves, because we have a rock venue near us that is incredibly supportive, and they play our music every weekend. And every time it comes on when we're in, we're like, oh, is that Paramore? But yeah, I think we're just... There's no such thing as individuality, really, but we definitely are 5 very independent and different women, and we're very focused on making sure that us as people is very evident, as opposed to it just being a band that makes music and doesn't show their personality, I suppose.
Yeah, it's interesting to watch like big bands that kind of feel like they lose their personality as they get bigger.
Yeah.
Like I find that like, I mean, I used to really like Kings of Leon, for example, and I saw them like God knows 10 years ago in this tiny little venue when they
Yeah.
had so much character and they had so much about them. And now it's kind of like you watch them at a show now and they're like look like they're going through the motions sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
very different. It's very interesting to see like that kind of go away, I guess. So there's two sides to it. I mean, what are your thoughts on like how people should approach that?
I mean, I suppose you don't know until you're in it, I suppose. And I know the bigger you get, the more people have an influence over what the band is doing. It's not just the members anymore. But I'd like to think we're bratty enough to stop people from letting us become a bit too, for lack of a better word, normal, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, again, because we have this rule of we rise together. Our aim isn't really to be famous for the sake of being famous. It's to lift as many people up with us as we possibly can. And just, if we get to make like one person smile because they think Daddy as Fuck is fucking hilarious to to dance along to, then I'm happy.
It's great that you guys have got that like bigger purpose and that like bond between you.
Yeah.
Because it's quite difficult as a band for like to get everyone in that kind of like bond together, but I feel like you guys have that.
Yeah, we're stupidly lucky, to be honest. Like, we all didn't really know each other until we had our first band rehearsal, and we just kind of instantly bonded, and the determination that we all have and the drive is just mind-blowing to me. Like, I still, like, this time last year, it was just an idea in my head that I didn't think I was ever going to bother to do, and now there's these 4 incredible women that are just making my life so much cooler and so much more fun. It's an amazing blessing.
Why do you think females are generally like underrepresented in like the music industry?
You know what? Every time I think about this, I can't work out why. Because I think I always see some. Well, in terms of rock, I don't know. Other than it's just a very male-dominated section of music, just because, I suppose, the way most things start were back in a day when women weren't allowed to have that much of a say. And so the roots of most things do come from men just because of that, which isn't a problem. But it is weird that it's still harder to shout about yourself when you're a girl than when you're a man. Although I do think it's getting easier. And I do think we take advantage of the fact that we look different because we're not another rock band that's 5 dudes in a garage. I don't know. 5 weird girls in a garage instead. But I don't know why it's so underrepresented. But also I don't necessarily think it is. I just don't think anyone knows just how many of us there is doing it for whatever reason. I think almost every band I can think of that I know locally are all at least female fronted. And they're all amazing. It just so happens that no one's hearing about them yet. And I think that's why we have the rule of we rise together, because we want to throw as many people out there as we possibly can.
I love that motto that you guys have got. So like if a musician was starting out today, like what advice would you give them?
Branding first. Work out who you are and what you're selling. And do it because you absolutely adore it and for no other reason. Because if you don't fucking love it, there's no point. You won't enjoy it, and everyone listening won't enjoy it either. And don't expect to make any money anytime soon.
I've had that one before. It's quite an interesting point, but I think it's about saying like, like you're not doing it for the money. Like it's not the sort of thing that you do for the money, right?
No,
like
you just can't.
Yeah, you just absolutely. Okay, that's it. We're basically out of time. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Please like us. I don't know. Just thanks for having me, I suppose. Thanks for reaching out, and hopefully once the world gets a little bit easier to deal with, we can take over a little bit more.
Absolutely. Look forward to it. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care. Bye.